you be all on my line about nothing? Why won't you go get you $1 or something? $1 or something. $1 or something.
Recording live in the Conscious Creative Media Studios from somewhere in the middle of nowhere, North Carolina, you are listening to the world's greatest photography podcast with your host, Bill Howard.
Thank you, Scott, and welcome to the world's greatest photography podcast, and I am your host, Bill Howard. We can be heard on all the major platforms for podcasting, as well as seen on YouTube at Conscious Creative Media, that's CRE8IVE, and we air every Monday, Wednesday, Friday on YouTube, and on the podcast every Monday. Today, we have, I don't know if I need to call him a photographer or a YouTuber. He's got 27,000 plus subscribers. He does tutorials when he's not doing time lapses and hyperlapses. And you can find him at Lightbender Visuals on both Facebook and Instagram, as well as just search his name on YouTube, Mr. Brent Hall. How are you doing today, Brent?
Pretty good, man. Pretty
good.
So
are you still in New Mexico right now?
I am for about another week or so, yeah.
This first segment, it's called Spray and Pray.
Okay.
And I don't know if you do any action, maybe with wildlife. Do you do short bursts or single shots, or do you do a spray and pray?
Yeah, usually the only time I do spray and pray is with super fast action where I need like a whole sequence of, 20 shots in a row. But even when I do wildlife and stuff, I tend to be a little bit more selective with my shooting.
That's kind of how we do it with sports as well. And
yeah.
Well, the spray and pray segment here is where we ask questions and our guests give answers in hopes of me finding something to talk about. Because although this is the world's greatest photography podcast, I am not necessarily the world's greatest podcast host. So here we go. DSLR or mirrorless?
DSLR.
Okay. Because of some of the tutorials and kind of what I want to talk with you about today, Android or iPhone?
Oh, God. I would never touch an iPhone. No, I think iPhones are great, just not for me. I'm definitely an Android guy all the way.
And I kind of felt that way just from watching your videos. All right, as far as actual camera bodies, Canon, Nikon, or Sony?
Canon, definitely.
Canon, okay. See, there's going to be a little boo sound that you're going to hear here in just a second. You may not hear it, but the guests will.
It's all right.
When you're shooting, say, with your Canon, do you do time lapses and hyperlapses with your Canon?
Oh, absolutely. That's one of the biggest bread and butters for my business.
Now, do you use, or are you brand loyal? Are you using Canon lenses, or do you use Tamron and Sigma? But I know a friend of yours uses Tamron right much, Mike Perea.
Yeah, I definitely use Tamron too. I try to shoot, when I have Canon, I pretty much only have L glass, but I've definitely picked up a couple of the Tamron G2s and a couple of their primes, and I've been really, really happy with them. So I haven't played with Sigma too much. I've actually had a few Sigmas, but I've returned them because the autofocus just wasn't what I needed it. But yeah, I'm not, when it comes to lenses, I'm not as brand loyal. So definitely branch out a little bit.
I've recently borrowed a Rokinon from a friend of mine that he uses for astrophotography and stuff. And I like it. It's manual focus, but it's still not what my Tamron 1530 is.
Yeah, that's actually what I'm filming on right now. So like this right here, I'm actually using my Rokinon 14. So
there you go.
That's definitely I don't normally use it for stuff like this. Like normally I would have like my Canon 1635 on, but I figured just keeping it in manual focus right now, just for the podcast would be easier. So, and I wanted this like a little bit wider field since I got the camera like right in my face pretty much.
Yeah. And I can see that, you've got nature there behind you, which is kind of nice.
Yeah, I'm in the middle of nowhere. I'm out in the middle of absolutely nowhere in New Mexico. So,
are you going to try to do a sunset this evening?
Possibly. The clouds are looking good for it. Yeah.
Now, and we'll talk about this more in the future segments. he does really great Holy Grail shots. And if you don't know what a Holy Grail, that's taking it from daylight to nighttime.
Definitely
and
my favorite.
Like I said, I do want to talk with you more about that in one of the later segments. But as far as your lenses, do you stick with prime lenses or do you use zooms mainly? Or
I have a mix of both, but traditionally I mostly use zoom lenses. I use prime lenses, especially more for maybe like a portrait or more for astro stuff. I use my 14, but mostly I'm using zoom lenses. I'm using probably the lens that's on my camera the most is my 100 to 400 Canon, and then probably the Tamron 2470 G2.
You are listening to the world's greatest photography podcast with your host, Bill Howard.
we're here today with Brent Hall, and you can find him on YouTube. Just search his name, or you can go to Twirling Eagle on YouTube, or you can find him on social media on Instagram and Facebook at Lightbenders Visuals. Let me make sure I get that final S in there. And since we're talking about that, Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram?
I definitely prefer Instagram, though I'm not very good at any of those. I don't have I don't have a very big following on any of those. I definitely don't even use Twitter at all. I'm pretty sure I have a Twitter account that I made for I follow Film Riot. I don't know if you know who they are, but they're YouTubers.
Yes.
And they every once in a while they do like contests and stuff. And one time, this was like 5-6 years ago, they did a giveaway, and they only did it. You had to have a Twitter. So I'm pretty sure I signed up for Twitter, but I haven't been on there since then. So definitely Instagram and then Facebook.
That's kind of interesting that you don't use social media that much, but you have such a huge following on YouTube.
Yeah. Like I always see these seminars and these people and big YouTubers and marketers and all this stuff talking about, the best ways to grow your YouTube channel. And it's like always everybody's number one is like share it on your social media. And I'm just like, oh.
And the groups help a lot. And you were very active with the Brendan Van Sun's group, correct?
Yeah, I was a while back. I was one of the original moderators for his Instagram channel, and I was a moderator for the Facebook channel for a while. But I've been kind of just so busy that I had to kind of pull out of that stuff. But I'm still in the group. I'm still around, but I never really even used that stuff to share my own stuff. It's kind of weird. I don't know.
Well, you've been successful at it regardless. For your camera, do you use back button or shutter release?
Oh, back button
focus?
all the way. Yeah, that's actually one of my biggest videos. I made a video on tutorial on back button focusing like years ago, like probably at least 3 years ago, I think. And it's probably one of my biggest videos. Like it just constantly keeps getting traffic, and definitely back button all the way for pretty much everything.
And if you're watching this on YouTube, I'll share a link to that video that he's talking about right here. Just kind of so you see his idea. I'm a shutter release guy personally. Even for sports, I can get the images that I want. So I like when you've got a tutorial on the back button focus. So I think that's going to be good information for both the viewers and the listeners. So I'll make sure I have that shared up here. How about say flash, constant lighting, or natural light?
I definitely, given the adventure type of stuff that I do normally, it's either going to be natural light or flash. I'm actually, and I say that I'm actually using constant light right now. I have a little bit of a fill light right here, which is that new Lume Cube panel. Just because it's not doing enough, but it's too bright out here. But normally for my photos, it's either natural light or I do a lot of flash stuff, though, with sports and environmental portraits and adventure stuff. I'll throw some flashes off camera, and I always have flashes in my bag for sure.
Now, the video you did with the update on your channel earlier this week, which when this airs will be a week later, did you use the Lume Cube then for the lighting? Because you were outside. Dusk, I guess. Yeah,
I was using this new Lume Cube panel. It just came out I think it was just released this week actually, and it's bigger than the Lume Cube. So it's this. I don't know. Well, that almost amucked everything. You get the idea. It's a big panel. It's about this
Yeah.
big. Very nice. Much bigger, much more powerful than the regular Lume Cubes, which I have and use a lot of. But for something like this, like, it's great. It's definitely been... It's my first kind of like foray into keeping a constant light in my bag or whatever. I have them in the studio when I do studio work, but as far as taking them out, I've just never bothered until I got this panel. So I'll probably be keeping that, definitely.
Now, does it allow you to change the Kelvin as well as
Yeah.
the brightness?
Yeah, it goes from like 32. It goes from like 3200 to 5600.
I've got an LED panel too. Mine's a cheap $40 panel, I think, but it's surprising how much that will help with both videography and photography.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I love using the panels for like macro stuff and product stuff and just little, like accent stuff. I love doing fantasy style portrait shoots, and like where I dress people up and do like all kinds of fantasy stuff, and having like little practicals like that, like the Lume Cubes, and being able to place them in somebody's hand or put them in a bowl or light something up. Like I do a lot of stuff like that, and they're really helpful.
One of the shorts that I started playing with shorts, trying to get better with cinematography, and I did one called Fireflies, based on the Congaree National Park, not far from where you'll be going before too long. And one of the setups, I had the laptop in front of me, and I'm typing a story as the way it's supposed to look, but I have the LED panel there against the screen to light up my face, so it would give that little extra effect rather than me caught in all shadow. But yeah, it's cheap and it works very well. But the next question, JPEG or RAW?
RAW, absolutely, all the way, 100% for me.
Even on like your time lapses and hyperlapses?
Yeah, especially on the time lapses, because I have found in the type of scenarios that I'm usually putting myself in for time lapses, no matter what I do in the settings, something is always gonna go wonky somewhere with the light, and just I use LR time lapse, so having the ability to just get everything I possibly can, and it's annoying. It takes up a ton of space, and it's a lot of extra time, but it's always worth it for me in the end, because I sell time lapses for stock also. So if I do a time lapse for my vlog even, and it turns out good, then I'll go ahead and throw it up on Shutterstock and sell it or whatever, So I always want to make sure I have the absolute most I can get out of them, even if that means more hard drives and more time on my end.
Do you keep, when you're out just to do a time lapse, and we've discussed this before in private messaging, I know you also do stills from your shots.
Yeah.
Do you
I like to do the long
all of the raw
exposures.
files, or once you get the stills you're going to use, and once you get the video put together that you're going to submit, do you just disregard them then, or do you keep it all?
I have occasionally, but these days I kind of just keep everything. These days I've just been buying more hard drives and more hard drives, and I've just been kind of keeping them in case I want to re-edit anything or come back to them or make a long exposure out of them or something. So yeah, I've been keeping them.
The external hard drives are actually really good prices now.
Yeah, it's getting better,
it's
finally.
easy to save what you need.
Finally, it's getting better.
Be sure to catch us on all the podcast sites as well as on YouTube every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And you can find us at Conscious Creative Media. That's CRE8IVE. And we're here today with Brent Hall of Lightbender Visuals. You can find him on Instagram and Facebook under Lightbender Visuals, as well as go to YouTube, search his name, Brent Hall. He's going to pop up there. He's got a ton of great videos and a ton of subscribers. Brent, Windows or Mac?
Windows all the way.
Yay. You were talking about the hard drives. That's one thing I don't like about Mac and Apple products is just they don't give you an option for storage. You can't, their storage is at a premium.
Yeah, it's a bummer.
And same thing with the Android and the iPhone. You can't add the storage to the iPhone. You can do the cloud, but
I do enjoy having an SD card in my phone.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. And I don't know about the the Note, or excuse me, I don't know about the S10, the Galaxy, but I know the Notes, you can put a terabyte card in it now.
Yeah, the S10 Plus you can too.
And that's fantastic. You can keep everything.
Yeah.
And I've never had a card go bad in a camera.
Oh yeah, a lot of times.
Or in a cell phone. In a camera, yes. In a cell phone, I've never had a card go bad.
Oh yeah, no, in a cell phone, no, I don't think I have either.
And it does a pretty good job of protecting it.
Mm-hmm.
Adobe or DaVinci?
Adobe.
Lightroom or Photoshop?
Photoshop. I wouldn't touch Lightroom with a 10-foot pole.
Just don't like that, huh?
I think I'm probably the only one in the world. No, I know Nick Page doesn't like Lightroom either. He's a Photoshop guy too, so we got to stick together.
He's been posting a lot more here lately as well.
Yeah.
I've noticed.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I have a conflict, because I do a lot of Photoshop tutorials, and it's like Brittany, my wife, she's always telling me like, man, you need to do some Lightroom tutorials. Like, she doesn't like Lightroom either. She won't touch it either. But we know that like it's just the bigger, easier option for most people, and it's like, man, I need to, like, I certainly can use it and I have it. I use it when I do LR time lapse, obviously, but other than that, like, I'll stick with Photoshop and then Bridge and Camera Raw. I use Bridge for all my organization stuffs.
And I'm assuming it does a great job with noise, especially when you're having to do like your Holy Grails and stuff. The work I've seen from you looks great. So
yeah, I've been pretty happy with it.
Okay. Well, we're here today with Brent Hall of Lightbender's Visuals. You can find him on Instagram or Facebook by looking up that term, or go to YouTube and look up Brent Hall. We're finishing up with segment 1. If you're watching on YouTube, you'll see segment 2 on Wednesday. If you're listening to the podcast, stay tuned right after these messages with Brent Hall on the World's Greatest Photography Podcast.
Why you be all on my line about nothing? Why won't you go get you $1 or something? Get you $1 or something. Why you be all on my line about nothing? Why won't you go get you $1 or something? Get you $1 or something. Why you be all on my line about nothing? Why won't you go get you $1 or something?